to this episode of the Divorce Diaries with myself, Farhana, the divorce doula, and I'm joined today by Charles, a family lawyer from Warner Solicitors. Hi Charles.
Hi Farhana.
So today we're going to be talking about why the courts are being advised to go to when you're going through divorce on social media. If you haven't watched our last episode where we were talking about where the best place to go to for legal advice when you're going through a divorce, we were talking about family mediators and family lawyers. Please do go and watch that episode first, because that's going to really help you to understand what we're talking about today, which is all about the courts. So Charles, let's start off with going back to social media and some of these forums that I'm in, where there are some very real conversations happening between real people. And I'm just going to bring up the thread again to refer to, because I wasn't surprised, and I was surprised by some of the advice that was being given by well-meaning people who are not professional lawyers or really understand the legal system when it comes to divorce. So it's in a mum's forum, and somebody here says, sorry, I have just lost the thread, so I'm just going to pull it up again. Here we are. So a mother is saying that she's really struggling with getting an amicable agreement over how to split the school holidays with her children's father, and that if she doesn't agree to what the dad's arrangements are, which is always, convenient for him, as she puts it, then he threatens her with legal action and bullying tactics. So she's like, she's asking for help. She said, can somebody recommend a good lawyer or a family mediator? And the response, not just came from one person, but from several people in this thread, was, let him take legal action, to be honest, and let it go to court, because you're going to be able to show that what you are fighting for is in the best interest of your children, and the judge will see this. So that's just one comment. Somebody else says, I've had the same experience, and to be honest, I'm left with no other option but to take out a court order on him. And a number of other people say, agreed, take him to court, give him what he deserves. Court is the only option. And a number of people are saying that. And I find this shocking.
This raises so many questions, doesn't it?
It really does.
Farhana, it raises questions about where people get their advice or information from. It raises questions about the agenda or what the people who are commenting are trying to achieve. And anybody who puts in their comment, let him get what he deserves, that's obviously not coming from a particularly positive or...
There's a lot of projection there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Because
there's anger there.
There's anger, absolutely, and anyone can see that. And I'm sure that person that said let him get what he deserves is coming from with good intentions. She wants to support this woman. She wants her to get the best outcomes, but there is that projection of anger. Is that helpful?
No, not at all.
Not at all at the end of the day, because actually, as you read the thread, that the woman who originally, made this comment about what's going on for her and her children and her ex says, I want to avoid court because I've been there before, I've had my fair share and it wasn't nice, I don't want to keep on going back, but maybe that's my only option. So there is that doubt there for her. And for me, what worries me as a divorce doula, where my primary concern is the well-being and emotional needs of my clients, is that this woman is already in a very vulnerable space. She's already very frustrated. Maybe she's angry. Maybe she's just feeling very confused at the moment. But then to have somebody else who I'm assuming isn't has a legal background, she may or may not have gone through divorce herself, is now adding unnecessary
Pressure.
onto this individual, which isn't really helpful.
It's not helpful at all.
It's not helpful because, from what I know, and I'm not legal at all, by the way, I don't have a legal background, but I'm just somebody who has been through divorce and has worked with many, many people who are going through the process of divorce and rebuilding their lives afterwards, is that this information is really inaccurate. Going to court is extremely stressful, won't necessarily give you the outcomes you want. And what I would love for you to talk about from a legal point of view is what on earth is going on with the court systems at the moment?
Absolutely. I think the first thing to say about this is that I'm sort of reminded of general issues in social media and what we call, fake news. Because to be honest, this is, I'm not sure it's not intentional, but this is as fake as it gets. Okay. Going to court is not a good idea. I'm a professional court user. I've been a professional court user for 20 years. I've been in and out of many, many family courts dotted around Kent, Sussex, London, Surrey, Hampshire. It is not somewhere you want to go ever. Okay, I can't stress that enough.
But if you just get a snapshot of these conversations in these forums, people, you get that sense that I'm left with no choice but to go to court.
And sometimes that's right. Sometimes there is no choice. But what I would say is it's a relatively small percentage of cases. And that actually probably at least 3/4 of cases with some sensible compromise can be resolved without going to court. Right. There are some cases, some matters that will always end up in court, either because people's positions are so entrenched or they're so opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of what they consider the outcome to be. Also, sadly, often because there are so many emotions and they're so angry and it's seen much like in that post as a sort of form of punishment. But I mean, absolutely no doubt that it is not somewhere anybody should willingly head to voluntarily. Mm-hmm. There are two key things to understand. So the first thing is, and I have heard so many judges say this, which is that they are a blunt instrument. They're going to end up with an outcome that is not what you necessarily want.
Right, yeah, and this is what I'd love you to highlight a little bit more, because in these conversations on social media, it feels like the sense that I get when I'm reading them, and what's more scary is that what the person asking for advice might take away is, oh, I'll just go to court and get that sorted that way, and I'll get what I want, because I know that this is in the best intentions of my family. So let's just go to court and get this done.
You won't get what you want. It certainly won't get it sorted quickly.
Yes.
At the moment, you're very lucky if you go to court and it gets resolved inside 12 months. Wow. Very lucky. And you could easily be 18, 24 months or longer.
2 years.
Yeah. I mean, 2 years. And the other thing to understand is when you get to court, that time with the judge or the magistrates is precious time. It's very limited. You're basically dumping all your problems onto somebody who's then got to make a decision in an hour or a couple of hours, or if you're lucky, a day. And, really crucial decisions that are going to impact you potentially for the rest of your life, or certainly for the rest of your children's lives until they reach majority. And it's all going to be decided in an hour. And you think that's going to be the best outcome for you. It almost certainly isn't going to be. You're almost certainly going to end up with what I call going to court, particularly in relation to children matters, you're opening Pandora's box. What I mean by that is the law of unintended consequences. You open that box, you're not necessarily going to get the outcome you want.
Yeah, and this is what worries me, and this is why I wanted to have this conversation today. For anyone out there who's listening and is considering going to court, or has been advised by strangers, well-meaning friends and family that court is the only option, please do consider this much more carefully. Do your research, because exactly what you're saying is that you get 1 hour with this judge. You're opening up this Pandora's box. They've got to make a decision and it's final. That alone is scary. But what I'd also like to bring up the point is this waiting time of 12 to 24 months. I mean, when you've decided court, you've already been through a real process of trying lots of different things and getting to the point of such heightened stress and frustration that you're thinking, right, go to court. That's just the beginning of a journey after such a stressful time. And then you've got 12 to 24 months of ongoing stress. And again, for me, you know, as somebody my focus is on your well-being, your emotional well-being, what is going to happen in that period of time is what worries me. And it's not necessarily the best thing to be doing anyway.
I can tell you what's going to happen. It's going to worsen.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to be in pieces by the end.
Yeah, and that's not just the individual, but especially if it's to do with family, how it impacts then on your children, your family, your job, you know, all areas of your life as you are waiting for you know, life to continue the way you want to, which, like you said, might not necessarily be the outcome you want anyway. So tell me, what is the alternative then? If people are saying, like, this
the alternative is to really find the right family professionals, right mediator, the right lawyer, and to be willing to compromise. And the key thing is, okay, it's a compromise. It might not be what you wanted, but I tell you what, it will still have your hands on it. You will still be involved in it. Once you go to court, if you get to that final hearing, that evidential hearing, the decision gets taken away from you, the judge makes the decision, you can end up with anything.
Yeah.
And that then you feel powerless. Then going back to what I've said previously, you're much more likely to find a situation that works if you're involved in it, how it came about, than if it's one that somebody imposes on you. But I often say to clients, it's trite, but it's true, which is that if you go to court, the only winner is the lawyers, because we'll get paid. And the loser is the client, probably also, very sadly, the children, because often they become aware of what's going on, they get dragged in, or they're aware that mum's stressed, or they're aware that dad's angry, or they know that there's been a change of arrangements because instead of mum coming to pick them up or dad coming to pick them up, suddenly somebody unusual is picking them up from school. Well, where have you been today? And then it slips out, well, actually they've been in court. It's a horrible experience for everybody. And it is one genuinely, I can say, hand on heart, as a professional court user, is not one that you ever want to experience. Okay, it's very much the last resort.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there are cases out there, serious cases where there are often substance abuse problems or anger issues or mental health issues. Those sort of matters probably do need court time.
And that are at the extremes.
But they're a small proportion. And the thread you were talking about is really interesting, because what it was actually about was the school summer holidays. And what I would say to you is, you would never go to court to argue about the school summer holidays. You're going to go to all those lengths to argue about 6 weeks. So much money, so much time wasted, and so much emotional stress, as you say. By the way, because the court takes so long, by the time some holidays will be long gone, we'll be arguing about next summer.
And that's just one example, but they, you know, apply that.
It applies across the board.
Yeah,
it applies
so
across
many other different situations, like, you know, across the year, the arrangement for the children, who take the children away on family holidays, Christmas, etc. So it, you know,
and that could all be resolved, and if necessary, the court will resolve it. But generally speaking, it's far better to try and achieve something outside of court by agreement.
Yeah. That's really, really helpful insight. Thank you. And for anyone who is listening, you know, if you are looking for advice, like this person is, you know, in these forums, and like many of us do, we go to forums looking for advice. It feels like a safe space for us to be in, and it often is, where we can have open conversations and not feel judged. Just be aware of the comments, the recommendations, the advice that's given to you, because you know, a lot of this is not accurate advice. It can take you down all sorts of paths that are not going to be helpful, can actually be detrimental to the journey, the process you're going on, the outcomes you want to have. So Charles, you know, you were saying about go back, have conversations, compromise. I would really love to talk a bit more about who it is that you talk to, you know, to get more of a balance. when things aren't working out. You know, we've got family lawyers, we've got mediators, we've got people like myself, divorce coaches and divorce doulas as well. And I'd really love to talk about this more in another episode about, you know, who is it you go and talk to. But for now, for our listeners, forums are not the best place to go for accurate advice and direction. They may be a place where you just want to have some open discussions, and that is fine. And, you know,
but don't take it as gospel.
Exactly. So where do people go to when they are looking for more direction and advice on how to proceed?
There's so much out there, and I'm reluctant to point people to law firms' websites because I appreciate that people want to just get free advice or just have a think about it. But, you know, you can go on gov.uk, there's lots of stuff there. You can go on Resolution, which is what was called the Solicitors Family Law Association. There's the Law Society website, that's got a good family page. Yeah. You can go on the CAB. I'm sure their website will give advice. But what you want to try and do is avoid anything too emotive that's going to potentially send you down the wrong path.
Yeah.
And, you know, in the first instance, it's absolutely fine to talk to friends and family. And at least when you're talking to someone face to face, you know who they are, you know what weight you give their opinion. If it's some anonymous person online who may have had some terrible experience of their own, and I've got a lot of sympathy for them, but they're not necessarily coming from, you know, the right place of being able to give you the advice that you need. Yeah, so just weigh everything in the balance and just be aware that forums, whilst they can be really interesting, are not going to be reliable sources of information.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And if you want more information on the websites and places to go for more accurate advice, then please do look at the show notes below, and we've got all the details there. Thank you so much for listening today. If you have got any comments about today's topic or want us to cover something else that you're going through the process of divorce and separation, do comment in the box below. And don't forget to subscribe so that you're updated when our new episodes come along. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Farhana. Take care.